What's up, combatants, and welcome back to our Mortal Kombat movie franchise in review. As always, I am Steve, and I am the Mortal Kombat lore enthusiast, and we thought it would be fun to bring a Mortal Kombat newbie to the franchise, although you're kind of now not, I don't know if you're considered a newbie anymore. You've witnessed 3 films now.
I think I still am, and I am also always Alexa. I'm not always Steve.
That would be weird. So today we are going to be reviewing Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge. This movie was released on April 14th, 2020. For reference, Mortal Kombat 11 was released in April 23rd of 2019. So it was about a year since the last game release. Also, because this is more of a newer movie, I feel like we should put a disclaimer. We're gonna be talking about the movie in full, so there will be spoilers. The other movies were like 25 years old, so I feel like we don't really need to put a spoiler warning for that. But for this one, we will be talking about the movie as a whole. It was directed by Ethan Spalding, who, if you don't know, he's done a lot of other animated movies. He did 12 episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender. He did a bunch of Scooby-Doo, it looks like direct-to-video movies. Directed some episodes of Looney Tunes, but most notably, which I feel like kind of fits in this type of movie, is he directed a few DC animated movies, which include Son of Batman, Batman Assault on Arkham, Justice League Throne of Atlantis. That's pretty much what he's done.
So, as far as I'm concerned, mostly good content.
Yes. And
compared to our last director.
Yes. Alexa is a very big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, so one of her favorite shows.
I almost wore one of my Avatar shirts today, but I decided to stay on theme. So actually, I would have been on theme anyway.
You would have.
I would have.
And I think the animation in this movie actually does, at certain points, look a lot like Avatar. There's a lot of like heavy shading, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan of in the movie.
We'll get into that in a moment.
But there were parts of the movie that did remind me of Avatar.
I think that's also because our good director, Mr. Spalding, also did some storyboarding on Avatar: The Last Airbender. I had looked that up. I'm a big animation nerd, so whenever I'm watching an animated film, I'll be like, okay, who are the voice actors? What studio animated these different pieces? Because it's a bunch of different studios working together. I want to know who storyboarded it. I want to know who did character design. So I saw that and I was like, oh, this is making a lot of sense, because I didn't really notice it the first time around as we watched it. Mm-hmm. I guess I just wasn't into that zone. I was just watching the film. But now, because I'm kind of looking at it from a different point of view, I was like, oh, who did what?
This movie actually takes a lot of, is very heavily influenced by Mortal Kombat X, which came out, I believe in 2015, just going off of memory from that. But there's heavy Mortal Kombat X influence in terms of like character designs and their costumes and stuff like that. I couldn't find the budget anywhere, probably because it was direct to video and there was no box office, so we don't really know how much it made. Plot synopsis of the movie. I mean, by this time, if you've seen the first Mortal Kombat movie, if you're familiar with anything in Mortal Kombat, it's the same thing. The general plot is that Outworld has won 9 straight tournaments. Earthrealm needs to win in order to stop Outworld from invading Earthrealm.
I think I have a gripe with these movies as a whole.
Yes.
They don't want to push the story forward at all. They always want to pick up, except for the exception of 2. Which I don't even want to think about anymore, because I'm actually excited to talk about this one. It doesn't seem like they want to push the story forward, and I'm assuming, which I know you shouldn't do, but did the games act as if this has never happened before? I feel like the games build on lore.
All right, so this storyline is only the storyline of 2 games.
But the games, what I'm asking is, the games build on lore, not like every game you start isn't like,
no, we're not starting over at the tournament again.
In every game. Okay, no. So like all the movies I've watched, like they even mentioned it in 2. They're like, oh my god, they've won 9 times. Bleh. And so now, by this point, I'm watching this 3rd movie and I'm like, I know, okay?
But and get ready for the next movie to come out, because it's going to be the same thing. You also have to think, this movie came out in 2020. Mortal Kombat Annihilation came out in 1997. It's been 25 years.
Right, and I understand that. Now, I'm watching these from the point of view of we are reviewing all of them. So I'm watching them all in very close proximity to each other. However, so that's me. But for you and you all know this already. Who the frick doesn't know this already? This game is
surprisingly
not new.
A lot of people who are
you know what I say that
younger
it's me.
to the franchise.
I don't know this already.
You gotta understand. It's been such a long time since we got any since Mortal Kombat fans got any type of Mortal Kombat movie media. It doesn't make sense to just pick up in the middle. You need this as the foundation of the story to then build upon. Bring this up later.
Okay.
Remind me.
Okay.
Because I do have a point that I want to make for this.
Point.
Yeah. First, we get introduced to the Scorpion Sub-Zero plot, which is basically kind of drives the movie, right? Is that Sub-Zero kills Scorpion's family and clan. That's where we start the movie off, right? Later on, we find out that it was Quan Chi. This is something that they took from the games.
Jumping right ahead.
I said we were going to talk about spoilers. So later we do find out that it was Quan Chi who actually killed Scorpion's son, Scorpion's wife, and his clan. He did this to repay the Lin Kuei, which is Sub-Zero's clan.
Which is more information that I've gotten about these two characters in any of the movies. I didn't
because they just use them as villains in the first movie.
There's
and
these guys, it's the blue ninja and the yellow ninja.
Yes. Their story is a little bit different than it is in actual game lore, but it follows kind of the general consensus of their story, right? And if anyone is familiar with the games, they knew that it was actually Quan Chi who had killed Scorpion's clan.
You die for this. You first.
And then we just flash forward to the introduction of our three heroic characters. Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya. Liu Kang's meditating, Raiden attacks him as a test. Johnny Cage is in his pigsty apartment where you can clearly see he's a struggling actor / martial artist. Joel McHale voiced Johnny Cage. Mm-hmm. So there's that.
I thought it was a great choice.
I think it's a good choice too.
Yeah, but I have gripes with the character.
I have also gripes with the character too. We'll get there. And then Sonya Blade, we see her. She's infiltrating the Black Dragon in, I guess that's Hong Kong, where they're supposed to be, which is where the ship leaves. And she's street fighting to find information about Kano. We get what you would expect. They get on the boat. We get Raiden kind of telling everyone about the tournament and guiding them and whatnot. Sonya's looking for Kano. It's the whole storyline that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
We'll just jump into this because it's pretty apparent right off the bat. Johnny Cage's character is, and coming from a Johnny Cage fan, I feel like it was a huge miss. It was just a huge, huge miss.
I also felt the same thing. We're sitting here and I was like, why is he so stupid?
So they gave him this story or this personality that is comedic to someone of 10 years old.
Again, they don't know if they're marketing to 10-year-olds who really they could watch this probably. It's fine. It's cartoon violence, but it does
pretty
get
violent.
pretty graphic.
It's pretty violent.
To the point where even I was like, ugh. And I watch some violent stuff and normally I'm okay with that. But it does get pretty graphic, so they don't know if their demographic is 10-year-old boys or adults.
And his jokes, it's funny maybe the first couple times, but then it's later on, it's he still doesn't know he's in a deathmatch tournament. It gets overplayed to the point where it's almost cringy, and it's just I'm tired of this.
It's pretty bad. And at one point, I looked over at you, and I was like, he's just Sokka.
Hard as a fossil. Yeah, no craft services, no trailers. My agent is going to hear about this when I get home.
And
Season 1 Sokka.
Season 1 Sokka, where he's just refuses to believe any of this. Maybe first half of Season 1 Sokka, where he doesn't want to believe any of this. This is all too out of his realm. He refuses to do anything that has any sort of value. He's just guys, we're on a movie set. And I'm he's not that stupid. stupid.
Yeah, there's no
What?
cameras around.
No one is telling him, like, this doesn't even remotely look like a movie set. And I guess that's supposed to be the joke, is that he's just so blind to it and he's so into himself. But, like, it didn't...
He's blinded by his ego.
But
which
it didn't
Johnny Cage,
really connect at all.
Which Johnny Cage's characters is, but not to, like, this extent. I honestly think almost every other character in the movie was pretty true to character for how they are in the games.
Yeah.
But not Johnny Cage. So the first fight in the movie was Scorpion versus Sub-Zero, basically.
Yes.
Which I thought was done. I actually thought it was done very well.
I liked
the whole Scorpion he finds his wife dead, takes out his anger on the Lin Kuei, and then Sub-Zero. Quan Chi kills his son, and I feel like the effects that they used, the fight was a pretty good fight. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I enjoyed it.
I liked a lot of the choreography for these fights, and because it's animated, you can do all of their finishing moves. You can make it a little larger than life without it looking like they're on a rig or any of that stuff that you are stuck with. You
have more free range
you have so
to do
much
what you
more
want to
free
do.
range. So honestly, all of these fights I was pretty into, unless I was out of tune for the character. So yeah, this one was good. I'm also huge, like, they're in like a feudal Japan sort of situation, so I was like, yes.
We see Hanzo Hasashi, who's Scorpion, being tortured by an Oni who looks a lot like Malak from the later 3D era of Mortal Kombat. I don't think it is him, but he's the same, I guess, type of Oni. We see a bunch of other few Onis that we have seen in the Mortal Kombat game, like the MKX mobile Oni. And then basically Hanzo breaks free, fights his way to Quan Chi's domain. He demands that he be returned to the world of the living, and Quan Chi, before he turns him into Scorpion, says that I will return you and your family to the world of the living, but you must attend Shang Tsung's tournament and get this key, which I think is supposed to be Shinnok's amulet.
Because he wants to release him.
Yeah, and it looks like Shinnok's amulet, kind of. But that's kind of what I took away from that. He's like, you must get this key for me, and also he will be there, and it's Sub-Zero.
Yes.
Because he's still under the belief that it's Sub-Zero. So that's how he becomes Scorpion. Something I want to talk about real quick is the movie is confusing here and there, and I guess I'll bring this up more when I talk about it at the end. Because Shang Tsung says that he has won Mortal Kombat for 9 straight tournaments.
I, Shang Tsung, emissary of the great Shao Kahn, Emperor of Outworld, winner of the last 9 tournaments against Earthrealm.
And it shows young Shang Tsung defeating the great Kung Lao. If you know anything about Mortal Kombat lore, Shang Tsung won Mortal Kombat years and years ago, then he was defeated by the great Kung Lao, and then he returned with Goro, and then Goro became the champion and won 9 straight times. In this one, he's like, I have won 9 straight times, and then he's like, my champion Goro, and it's like, well, did you win or did Goro win?
I can see, as someone who's just watching this for the first time and hasn't watched all these movies.
They show flashbacks of him fighting in the tournament. So it's like, did you win or did Goro win?
I don't care.
Jax was captured by Shang Tsung. In this fight, we basically see it's Sonya's driving motion to go after Kano, because Kano had captured Jax. Jax loses his arms, like he does in every iteration of Mortal Kombat, this time by the hands, literally, of Goro.
That was a little rough for me. I guess this comes from the games, you were saying? Whenever someone, like, got something, like, shoved through their head or got, like, a body part ripped off.
The X-ray.
It goes into, like, a slow-motion X-ray,
Yeah.
and then, like, bleh.
So that's taken from the games. It's like their X-ray moves. They started it in Mortal Kombat 9, and it's been a part of the games from 9, 10, 11, which is the rebooted timeline. So that's why every time you see, like, something go through them, it's like it shows their rib cage cracking or their skull cracking or something like that.
I totally get where it's coming from, but just someone who doesn't play the games and is just watching this movie, I thought it came off as a little cheesy. Because it's like slow motion, then I see it like...
It's a callback to the games,
Totally... So I take it with a grain of salt and its cheesiness level, but it just wasn't for me.
In the Goro vs. Jax fight, I want to bring up that Raiden interrupts before Goro can kill Jax. And Shang Tsung is like, it's against the rules to interrupt.
You forget yourself, Lord Raiden. You are not to interfere in the tournament.
And Raiden was like, I didn't know the tournament started yet. And then he heals Jax's arms. We're going to do a callback to this later. After this, the tournament begins, and everyone gets transported to different locations on the island, which I kind of like this. I thought this was cool. Like mixed magic in there.
I thought it was great, and I thought it felt more like Super Smash Brothers.
So from here we get Johnny Cage versus Baraka. I hate this fight.
I didn't like it either.
And it's mainly because Johnny Cage doesn't throw a single punch, yet he still wins.
Yeah.
He runs away from Baraka, and because they're in a building that has gunpowder in it and the building blows up.
It was all circumstantial and it wasn't very good.
It just...
I feel like they were trying to do a callback to his Goro fight where he does kick him, but then he runs away and uses the fact that he's big against him and then happens to win, which was clever. This was not clever. He just ran away the whole time and it was dumb. Moving on.
It was stupid. I didn't like it. It goes back to what we were talking about before with Johnny Cage just being an idiot. Sonya versus Reptile in the Swamp. Heavy Predator influence
It's just
here.
the Predator, which is great. I'm not upset. I was a little confused as to why they didn't use the Predator ninjas.
Because all right, so
no, that's okay. You
no,
told me.
I'll talk about
Oh
it.
my god.
Mortal Kombat takes a lot of heavy influence on Predator. We see it in Mortal Kombat 1 with Sub-Zero's spine rip fatality. Ed Boon has said that that move was taken from Predator. I guess we can kind of see with Reptile's invisibility with where he's cloaked in this, but I mean the heaviest influence is from the Cyber Ninjas, which is Smoke, Cyrax, Sector, where they basically look almost like a robotic version of the Predator. So for them to have like that homage to Predator in these games, I feel like that was just them also taking that and putting it in this movie of being like, well, let's just, a lot of is taken already from Predator. Predator was actually a DLC character in Mortal Kombat X. Yeah.
She literally goes and like gets into the mud and realizes that Reptile has followed her into the mud and she kicks him and she's like, I've got you. Which, clever, but Arnold did it better. I'm also just finding that I just don't like Sonya.
Fuck with the blade, you're gonna get cut.
I've tried for 3 movies. I tried for the animated one. I don't like her.
Some of her dialogue is a little forced.
Her dialogue is a little stiff. In fact, that was one of my gripes, was that a lot of the dialogue is a little stiff. The dialogue in the beginning with Hanzo and his son, it's like, we must get back now. Your mother will have dinner ready.
Your mother is making dinner, and she won't be happy if we're late.
No one talks like that. No one talks like that. It was just a little, and it's not relaxed enough. And she's like, I'm not a little girl. I'm like, I know you're not.
Yeah, but that's like her story, From here we get Liu Kang versus Kitana, which again, if you want to call this, every time this happens is like, is this really a fight?
They smooched with their souls.
I don't think this is even necessary. I like Kitana's design because it's basically,
I liked it too.
Her costume is basically just picked right off of Mortal Kombat X and thrown into this movie.
We got to the fight and I just go, she's naked, and she's not. I'm just not used to this outfit.
I just feel like we didn't need this fight because it didn't do anything for the movie.
Nah.
At all.
No.
It kind of established like this like attraction / respect between Kitana and Liu Kang, but she didn't like stay to become like a B side, like a Raiden, like a sub Raiden, like she wasn't there as like a guide or anything like she was in the first movie.
I feel like all she told him was like, you have to fight.
Yeah, and that was it. And then we don't see her again. And it's like, okay. Setting up for the sequels, I guess. Then we get the 3 of them kind of meet up as they're on their way to, I guess, Shang
Johnny,
Tsung's
Sonya,
palace.
and Liu Kang.
And then the Black Dragon attacks the island, and we see Raiden, Quan Chi, and Shang Tsung like watching over this like holographic map of the island, and Shang Tsung's like, the Black Dragon appears to be attacking your fighters or whatever. Then Raiden is like, that's, against the rules. And Shang Tsung's like, you think I would break the rules?
You brought them here to interfere with the tournament. And break the rules? Even I am not so bold as to anger the Elder Gods in such a way.
Meanwhile, we find out that
we're
I guess
gonna
Shang Tsung has paid the Black Dragon to be here. He's
paid off Goro and the Kano and the Black Dragon.
Yeah, and he paid them to go get Jax, and because there's one point where like, I don't know if I just like tuned out for a minute and didn't realize they were getting paid off, but then Kano was like, he's not paying me enough to do this.
So we get the 3 of them against the Black Dragon. Again, Johnny Cage is like cowering in fear. So it's basically Sonya and Liu Kang.
Johnny
and
Cage just flips around a little bit, and Sonya's like, sit down.
So it's basically like Liu Kang and Sonya, and at this time Scorpion had joined up with them.
Because now they're a team of friends.
Against the Black Dragon. Kano flees, we see him fight later. But this was just like a fight. It was, just a regular, like, we need a bunch of people to fight kind of fight.
Yeah. In between that, I guess, so they meet up, and before they find the Black Dragon, they're like having like a campfire bonding scene, and I think this is where Scorpion became my favorite of the film, because he's just cranky. And
It is his movie.
He's guarding them for no reason. They're all like, oh, it became, you said it too, it became Hunger Games all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason, Scorpion doesn't have any reason to not fight them. It's Mortal Kombat, so you're looking to be the winner, but he also has no reason to really go after them because they're just protecting Earthrealm and he's there for revenge. So I kind of see the reason that would work, but I don't understand really why he was like, I will stand guard. And I was like, aw, you're just a grouchy guy with a heart, and you're my favorite archetype.
So then Sub-Zero does show up, and Scorpion's like, you'll pay for what you did, and Sub-Zero's like, eh?
Yeah, and this is where I had forgotten that it wasn't Sub-Zero, because he's like, I will kill you, and Sub-Zero's like, bro, I don't even know you. And part of me was like, well, maybe it was like so long ago, because the timelines are clearly different. I don't know what planets or worlds they're from normally.
They're both from Earth. And in the original MK lore, it's actually not really that far in the past. They just have clans.
All right. Weird.
I feel like this fight and the first Sub-Zero versus Scorpion fight, they do a good job of being like, Sub-Zero is a cryomancer, he makes ice, and he fights with ice. And it's like, and this is kind of what...
This is what I've been looking for the whole time.
Well, this is also what I feel like the new movie is going to do a lot of, and I'm really here for it, because I actually really like Sub-Zero. And then Scorpion kind of like plunges off of the pit with Sub-Zero and gets impaled, and then they're both dying.
On a stalagmite?
Stalagmite, yeah.
From the ground?
Tights from the ceiling, I believe. And then we get Quan Chi, who comes and like reveals to him that he played him. He
has his scar moment as Simba is lying over his dead father, and he's just like, it was me, and you're just like, oh, what? Well, I was.
And then Scorpion uses, his anger to get himself off of it, but we don't see him yet.
I love a good rage, revenge. That's why this movie did so well for me.
So we get to nearing the end of the movie. Liu Kang has to fight Goro. They get to Shang Tsung's palace. The Liu Kang-Goro fight is happening. At the same time, Sonya and Johnny Cage go to save Jax from Kano. And
oh, that was another thing that I want to point out, because it happened again, and I watched this movie and I was like, I don't understand. Liu Kang is talking to Raiden, and he's like, Raiden, this guy Johnny Cage is kind of a dum-dum. And he's like, I know. And he's like, what is he doing here? Why is he here? And he's like, he will realize his purpose when he realizes that he has to fight for someone other than himself.
And it's Sonya.
And it's Sonya, but like, it doesn't really do anything. Like, he's like, what's up, babe, I'm gonna fight for you. And she's like, oh my god, you can fight. And even though he's been relentlessly useless the entire film, all of a sudden she's like, what a hottie. And I'm like, no. And he throws a few punches, but then he's done. And she like was kind of in trouble, but also not really.
She was up against the huge Oni army and
that's right.
Motaro, and then
you're right.
Johnny Cage comes in and they fight, and I have like some gripes with this fight because I feel like it was kind of rushed. The fighting in this scene didn't come off as like that good to me.
That wasn't the climax of the film.
It wasn't, but it was still just kind of like meh.
And I guess the reason I didn't like it is because she's gonna go after Jax, because Johnny doesn't go after her at first. He's like, all right, and then Liu Kang is like, dude, you should go help this girl that you've been hitting on the entire time. And he's like, I guess so.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not like he actually feels as though he has to help her. He's just like, all right.
So they fight their way through the Oni army. They get to Kano. Sonya fights Kano. defeats him. They free Jax. Jax basically curb stomps Kano, and he dies.
There's no blood, there's no gore, like
Yeah.
his skull isn't protruding. I was like, you guys went not hard on that? It was just an interesting choice.
Unless maybe he's not dead. We get Liu Kang versus Goro. This is the fight. This is the fight, right? Liu Kang's supposed to win Mortal Kombat. He's doing a pretty good job, and then all of a sudden Shang Tsung's like, I've had enough of this. Playtime is over. Finish him, whatever. And then that sends Goro into like his, and he starts pulling on all 4 of Liu Kang's limbs with his arms, and it looks like it is done for Liu Kang and Goro's gonna win. Until
my baby boy.
Scorpion shows up and kills Goro. I fucking hate this. I fucking hate it so much. Shang Tsung talks about the rules of the tournament. The rules can't be broken, yet someone can just interfere with the fight that's supposed to be the main event.
So
the
here's-
main fight? Hold on, sorry. This is supposed to be the main event of the whole fucking tournament, and all of a sudden someone can just walk in and determine the outcome of the tournament? Since when can this happen? If this is allowed to happen here, what's stopping any fight from just being determined by anyone interfering throughout the tournament? If the Elder Gods are overseeing the tournament, couldn't they be like, well, he cheated and Outworld wins? It doesn't make any fucking sense. The only reason why they did this is because it's Scorpion's movie, and he had to be the hero. There could have been another way to do this, and this was done, in my opinion, just so poorly. I hate it. It contradicts the whole rest of the movie. I'm not saying that I hate the movie, but I hate this plot point. That's my opinion of that.
So, you bring up a valid point. My question was, yes, technically from the rules that you are used to, he is coming in and he is interfering with the battle. However, he did not lose any of his fights, and he is technically still in the tournament. So does that bar him from being in a fight that is still tournament sanctioned? And are they talking about the leaders and their champions interfering, which is not fully explained, but Raiden couldn't interfere, Shang Tsung couldn't interfere, and neither could, what's his face?
Quan Chi.
Who did I call him? I called him a Cenobite. I called him Pinhead, because he is a Cenobite. So they couldn't interfere, and that was clearly part of the rules, but Scorpion's in the tournament. And I still agree with you that this could have been done a different way. Like, I feel as though the point of this movie wasn't necessarily Liu Kang. If they had made it,
and that's fine. But
and again, yes, that's fine. But if they had made the Goro Liu Kang fight like not the climax of the film, but like the
Plot B.
build up. Yeah, plot B.
Yeah.
They could have diverged the two a little bit.
Goro and Liu Kang have nothing to do with Scorpion, right? He gets his revenge later in the last fight of the film, which is him versus Quan Chi, and that's fine. You could have still done that and had him not interfere with this.
Of which I actually really liked the fight with him and Quan Chi.
It's probably the best fight in the film.
Yeah, because it's been building up the whole time, and I think that was also the thing that I was experiencing in this one. Is I really liked the story. I thought it was well done. I could follow all of the characters this time. They threw enough at me where like I was supposed to know important characters, whereas the other ones were nods to characters from the game. It was like there were certain things like you were saying that were a little confusing. It's like, what are the rules, what aren't the rules? But they have a lot of continuity to cover and story to cover at this point, so I think what they did a pretty decent job with. I felt like the Liu Kang versus Goro fight wasn't really hyped up because we weren't really focused on him. We were only kind of focused on him and Sonya and Johnny. We were really focused on Scorpion, and in the big, like the center of the movie, he wasn't really in it. He was in the beginning, and he was in like the build up to the end and the end. Like the only thing he did in the middle was guard them Hunger Games style.
Now I want to go back to, and I know we're going a little long here, so I'll try and keep it somewhat quick. I want to go back to what you said about, you know the story. We know the story of Mortal Kombat. We know everything, right? Okay. So there is stuff that happens pre-MK tournament. One of the things is the storyline from Mortal Kombat Mythologies, which is how Quan Chi hired Scorpion and Sub-Zero's clans to find the map to get to Shinnok's amulet. And then that's where initially, in the original timeline, Scorpion and Sub-Zero met. Sub-Zero defeated Scorpion. Scorpion pled for his life to spare him. Sub-Zero said no, killed him. And then that's initially how he becomes Scorpion. And then as repayment, Quan Chi eliminated Scorpion's entire clan. And then later on, when Sub-Zero is going to get the amulet in the Netherrealm, he comes across Scorpion again. You could have adapted that storyline and made this movie, if you want to make a movie around Scorpion, you could have made this movie around pre-Mortal Kombat leading up to the tournament. It would have been something new. It would have still been like the prequel lore that we would have had, but they decided not to do that.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on that. And then at the end, we see them, the heroes, they're all on the ship as they're going back to Earthrealm, and then we see Shang Tsung groveling before Shao Kahn, and we get like the
Shao
nod.
Kahn looked great.
Shao Kahn does look great. This is how Shao Kahn should be.
He gave me real good 2000s He-Man Skeletor vibes, and I was all about it. I was like, heck yes.
So I think their plan is that they're going to make this into a series. Hey, I'm all for that. I thought that this...
I would watch it.
Because Raiden says to Liu Kang, your destiny was never to beat Goro, it was to defeat Shao Kahn.
Which I also feel like was kind of a runaround for Scorpion to come in and do it.
So I'm sure we'll get Mortal Kombat Legends Liu Kang or something like that in the future.
My precious angel. Things that we did like, though. Because I liked a lot about this movie.
So, yeah.
I liked that it was
What did you
animated,
like?
number one. I feel like a lot of video game stories, because they have so much more of a fantastical element to them, are more easily translated through animation than with real people. As much as we like seeing them with real people, I just think animation has more freedom to be able to do so. I really liked the voice casting for everyone. I think they did a really good job, even though some of the dialogue was a little bit stiff. Like, Joel McHale as Johnny Cage was great, because I actually just started watching Community, and he's just playing that character again, and I'm like, yeah, no, that would be a Johnny Cage.
His voice acting was good, but he was written poorly.
I wrote down that I like the romantic tension. He wrote kinda, I'm not talking about Liu Kang and Katana, I'm talking about Raiden and Shang Tsung. I'm watching this movie and they're arguing, and I was like, I looked at you and I was like, they used to kiss. And he was like, what? They just fight with each other? They don't fight with each other like...
What, do they bicker?
Yeah, they don't fight with each other like two men who are protecting a realm. They're just like, yeah, whatever, well, when you did this.
I see that you wrote down the luggage. The callback from Johnny Cage falling over with his luggage.
He gets on the boat and they are, in the background, Johnny Cage is coming down the steps. And you don't really see him at first because you're looking at Liu Kang and Sonya in the front. And then all of a sudden he falls with like his million bags. And I was like, they did it again!
Coming through, I'm coming.
Because they knew that was the best part of the first movie too. So those were some of my favorite parts.
So, some dislikes, which I feel like we talked about before. The dialogue was stiff and corny.
Some of it was really edging on, and that was a lot of Johnny Cage's dialogue. It was just really cheesy.
Yeah, I think everything else we kind of covered.
Yeah, Johnny Cage is very dumb.
Very dumb.
I think the major thing that was taking me out of some of the animation were the thick black lines that were meant for shading. And you actually brought it up first.
Everyone's knuckles have these like black lines across them.
So they made them look raised, and they wanted to make them look a little more exaggerated. So like our knuckles, they pop up out of our hands. And as someone who's constantly looking at the way that people draw people, I'm looking for things. And that was really weird, and everyone was very square. It's just the art style. I didn't hate it, but I didn't necessarily love it.
I do have some Easter eggs, but let's rate it first, and then I'll get into some Easter eggs about the movie. So, Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge, how many punches are you going to give it? I already know what I'm going to give it.
I think I'm going to give it... I'm trying to think of what I gave the first one.
You gave the first one 3.
3. This one's actually my favorite. I'm going to give it 4.
And I'm going to give it 3 punches.
Yeah!
Excellent.
Which your 4 actually puts it 1/2 over Mortal Kombat 1995.
Spicy.
So, that means that in our list of Mortal Kombat rankings, it now goes as this. Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge, Mortal Kombat 1995, and Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Before we wrap up, there are some Easter eggs in this movie. When the island collapses at the end of the tournament, on every iteration of Mortal Kombat, the island either collapses or it just doesn't. So it's like sometimes it might.
It's either there or it's not.
It happens in the original timeline, it happens in the Shaolin Monks timeline, and it doesn't happen in the newer timeline. In this movie, it happens. So I thought that was a cool callback, and it's basically the island collapses because it's held up by Shang Tsung's power. So when Shang Tsung is defeated, even though he didn't fight,
his champion was defeated, okay?
The island starts collapsing. So that was a cool throwback. Like I said, there was heavy MKX influence. A lot of the characters' design and costumes, like Katana's costume is from MKX, Scorpion's costume is from MKX. So heavy MKX influence. We did see Natara show up in the scene where you see all the fighters and Johnny Cage is trying to eat like the foreign food. She is a vampire character from first seen in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. She's reported to be in the new MK live action movie. I did talk about the Oni that was torturing Hanzo. Looks like he's based off of Malak. We see characters doing Test Your Might in the mess hall, which I thought was a cool throwback to the original Mortal Kombat. We talked about the Predator. Motaro does make a quick appearance, a quick cameo, and Sonya and Johnny Cage kick his ass. And the X-Ray moves. So that's it. That's our review for Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge. I hope they continue making these animated movies. Like I said, I know that I might get some hate because I know a lot of people love this movie, but I do have my gripes with it. To me, the original is just a little bit better. But
I think my phone's been listening to me because a lot of my Twitter timeline it's also because I follow you on Twitter. But a lot of my Twitter timeline is Mortal Kombat 1995 right now, and I'm like, I know the new one is coming out as well, but you guys should just request that he review the animated one that he doesn't want to review.
The Journey Begins. Maybe we'll review that one.
I think you guys deserve it.
So let us know what you guys thought about Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge in the comments below. Where do you rank it in your Mortal Kombat movie rankings? If you liked this video, it would mean a lot to us if you could give it a big thumbs up. And head on over to my channel, Mortal Kombat Temple, for any other Mortal Kombat lore. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notifications when I post new videos like this one. When the new movie comes out, we will be doing a review on that and ranking it with the other movies to see exactly where that
You should
falls.
live stream it.
So, I'm not doing that. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys later.